In this video, I want to talk about how to learn. Okay, how do we get better grades in class? Every single year, I hear the same thing from students. After the midterm, I get a lot of emails saying, I don't understand why I didn't do so well. How can I get a better grade? So I want to talk about the main factors that affect how you learn in this video. So one of the very first things is motivation. You have to want to learn. If you're trying to learn information that you don't really care about, that isn't meaningful to you, it is going to be extremely difficult. So you have to, first of all, figure out a way to make sure this is information you want to learn, right? If you're in my classes, you're learning about biology and physiology, and that means you probably want to do something in the healthcare field, right? You want to be a nurse or a massage therapist or a respiratory therapist. So hopefully, learning about biology is interesting to you because that's what you want to do as a career, right? You can also look at this information as how it relates to your own personal life. In my courses and in my lecture videos, I talk a lot about how this content relates to how we feel, how our body makes energy, how it affects our mood, how, stress affects us. Okay, so you can personalize the information. When it's meaningful, then you're more likely to care about it and you're more likely to be motivated. The other thing about motivation is this molecule called dopamine. Now, dopamine is often associated with a reward pathway and addiction cycles, but dopamine is also the molecule that drives you to do things. Okay, so actually, it's not really involved in the reward part. So let's just take an example like you want to eat some potato chips. So you're sitting on the couch and you're watching a movie and you're like, oh, I really want potato chips. Dopamine is the molecule that makes you have the drive and the motivation to get up off the couch and go to the cupboard or get in your car and go to the store and buy the potato chips, get the potato chips. That's the dopamine part. When you eat the potato chips and then you feel that, now I feel content and satisfied. That is serotonin. That's a different molecule. Okay, so dopamine is about having the drive to do things. So I want to just tell you one little example about a rat study. So if you have rats that don't make dopamine and you have rats that make dopamine, and if you give them a treat, they'll both eat the treat and enjoy the treat, and MRI scans will show that their brain is using glucose in pleasure centers of the brain. But the rat that doesn't have the dopamine won't get up from his corner of the cage and press the lever to get the treat. The rat that has the dopamine goes over and pushes the button to get the treat. Okay, so dopamine is about making you want to do things. Now, one way that you can increase your dopamine is by doing baby steps, doing small things at a time. So let's suppose you wake up in the morning and you're feeling like, oh man, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't even want to go to class. I just want to stay in bed, right? I hear this from students often. Because once you have so much of a stress response, then it becomes increasingly difficult to make yourself do things. So what you can do is baby steps. All I'm going to do is get out of bed and get a glass of water. And then all I'm going to do is brush my teeth. I'm just going to sit at my desk and open my book. That's all I'm going to do. Just open my book. You can do that. One small thing. Just get the book, open it. Go on your computer, open the digital book if it's that way. Once you do that, you've accomplished something. When you accomplish small things, you make a little bit of dopamine that helps you have the motivation to do the next thing. Once you open up your digital textbook, then you can say, all I'm going to do is just go to the chapter that we're working on right now. What are we doing right now? I'm going to look at my pacer. I'm going to look at my course announcements. Okay, we're learning about the cardiovascular system today. So I'm just going to open that chapter. I'm just going to look at a couple of pictures. Maybe I'll read one paragraph, right? And then you just baby step your way through things. Every little accomplishment gives you a little bit more dopamine, that it gives you a bit more drive to do the next little baby step. Okay, so that's one thing that you can do to help increase that. So The information has to be meaningful to you, and you need to have the motivation and drive to make yourself do little things. Okay. The next thing that's important is organizing your time, having realistic expectations about what you can accomplish in a period of time. So if you have an exam in 2 weeks, because you're not going to wait until the night before, then you're going to start scheduling when you're going to work on things, when you're going to study. So assuming you're in a program where you have multiple courses, you can make yourself a calendar schedule, a weekly schedule. What are you going to do every day of the week? Okay, schedule in when you have your classes, when are you going to sleep, when are you going to wake up, when are you going to exercise, when are you going to eat healthy food, right? And you put these things. My dog's dreaming. I don't know if you can hear that. So you put these things into your schedule, and then you try to stick to it and make sure you give yourself breaks. You need to have time to process information. Your brain needs to recover just as much as your muscles need to recover from exercise. So if you go to the gym and you hop on a treadmill for 30 minutes, then you need to rest and recover. You need to eat food and you need to do something else and let your muscles heal, right? And then every single day, you're not going to lift the same weights. You're not going to do a bench press workout every single day, right? Your muscles would actually get weaker if you did that. And same with your brain. You need to give your brain time to process the information. One thing that is very effective is if you say study for 30 minutes and then take 5 minutes and just close your eyes and let your brain process the information. Don't take a break where you play video games or go on social media or check emails that are stressful. Just give your brain 5 minutes to process what you've just studied. It will make a very significant improvement in how much information you can retain and how much you actually understand. The next thing that's important is using multiple parts of your brain. So you're going to assume, I assume you're going to have, well, in my class you will, you'll have a textbook, right? You're going to have either lectures in class with a prof or lecture videos like I have. And then you're going to have class time where you can ask questions, where you can talk to peers, where you can process the information. You're also going to have practice questions, right? I don't know of any teacher that doesn't give students practice questions. So work on those things. So if you're using the visual part of your brain, auditory, you're practicing, you're actually doing stuff, and then try to have conversations about the information. Even if you talk to yourself or talk to your cat, right? If you can explain the content, then you know that you understand it. Anything that you want to learn, you can't just read it or just watch a video and then know the information like really deeply, okay? You need to be able to practice or experience or explain or express the information. Like if I wanted to learn something, just the other day I had a website thing that I had to figure out what to do with my website. So I can look at all the YouTube videos that I want. They might not be specifically what my website theme is or issue is. So I can get the information, but until I actually go into my own website and mess around and practice and try things, I'm not really going to learn it, right? So if I had to write an exam about how to fix some problem with a WordPress website, then if I only watched YouTube videos and then tried to write the exam, I might be able to memorize a couple of things and get a few things right, but I'm not going to really know it. I'm not going to learn until I do it myself with my own website and then go, oh, that's what worked, right? So when you're learning biology, like let's suppose we're learning the cardiovascular system and we're talking about blood pressure. You can memorize, okay, we have effectors and we have an integrating center and we have a medulla oblongata that regulates the heart rate, but does that really make sense to you, right? If you think about the big picture and the small picture, like, okay, my heart is the pump, it's pushing blood through all of my vessels. When I'm going to exercise, my muscles need more blood. How is that going to happen? Well, the blood vessels are going to dilate. Pressure and flow of blood is going to change in different body parts when I'm running versus digesting a meal. So trying to understand the bigger picture as well as memorizing some small details, right? Like, okay, the medulla oblongata is the cardiovascular center. That is the part of the brainstem that's going to regulate my heart rate. Okay, you might have to memorize, this is my aorta. But when you understand the big picture of how the whole thing works, then when you see questions on an exam that are worded in a slightly different way, you can rationalize and logic your way through the question. And you're more likely to have the correct answer if you understand what's going on and how the whole system actually works. So it's important to ask questions. Where is this happening? When is it happening? How and why? Right? When you can answer those kinds of questions, you're going to have a deeper understanding of the material. So don't just memorize stuff. Memorizing never gets you anywhere. So the last thing that I want to talk about is the physical factors. These things are important as well, like your diet. If you're not eating healthy molecules, right? Humans should eat plants and animals. We should eat whole foods. If you're eating a lot of sugar and processed crap that doesn't have micronutrients and vitamins and minerals that help your enzymes function, then you're not going to be able to make energy. Your brain takes a lot of energy when you're learning new information, which you probably notice when you spend a long time in class or studying, it's exhausting, right? You get tired, you get physically tired, just as if you were physically exercising. Okay, so your brain needs a lot of energy, so you have to give it molecules that help it make energy. And then the other thing is that you need to have enough sleep. I think that I know quite a few students that are not getting enough sleep. When you don't get enough sleep, your body actually sees that as a stressor. When you have a stress response, you're going to produce cortisol. Cortisol is going to mess up your blood sugar, right? When you have fluctuating blood sugar, then you're going to feel more fatigued and you're going to feel more irritable and you're not going to be as able to learn information. So you don't want to have blood sugar spikes. Cortisol, stress hormone, also affects your ability of your frontal lobe, the front part of your brain, to logically problem solve and critically think. Right? So you don't want to have too much cortisol because you need your brain to do all of that critical thinking and problem solving. So one of the ways that you can help deal with the stress, get enough sleep, and then throw in some exercise. We need to have physical activity and fresh air, right? So those are the kinds of physical things that you need to consider as well. And then also look at your environment when you're studying. Are you distracted because there's a TV on or there's a lot of commotion going on in your household? So find a place where you can have quiet, where you can focus, and you can concentrate on the material. Okay, so those are the main things. The information has to matter to you. It has to be meaningful. You have to care. You have to want to learn the information. So motivation, baby steps are really important. Organize your time. Don't leave things to the last minute. Do a little bit every day. Little baby steps. That's the best way to get information into your head so it stays in your long-term memory. Right? So schedule when you're going to do everything and plan breaks. Take little breaks, even little 5-minute breaks where you just let your brain process information. Use multiple parts of your brain. So make sure you're reading your textbook, watching videos, going to class, talking to peers or yourself, right? Being able to explain the information. Ask questions. Look at the big picture. Look at the little details, but don't just memorize the information. And then think about all of the physical factors. Eat healthy food and get enough sleep and, try to keep your stress levels under control. So those are the main things, and I really hope that you find that useful.